evening, everybody. Welcome to Engage Culture tonight. We want to talk about something very interesting, which I saw developing in Twitter, and we want to talk about it and look at it objectively and see what lessons we can draw or what it is that I find areas where we can grow based on something which is interesting, which I just saw on Twitter this week. So this week, South African Twitter was interesting again because we had Ntsiki Mazwai, who is a poet, songwriter, and musician, and also a black consciousness commentator. She was trending alongside Bonang, who is actually the most successful South African TV presenter in SA history. She's a radio personality. She's a businesswoman. She's a producer, model, philanthropist, and various other tremendous achievements are under her belt. So both of them were trending at the same time. And just historically, we've known that Ntsiki has taken shots at Bonang, and whenever the two of them trend, there's usually some type of drama that is occurring. But this week it was because Ntsiki had posted a blog on her website, and it was entitled "What Black Economy?" as in a rhetorical question and a critique and a criticism of what we call black economics or black success or black excellence. And she brought up some very pertinent points and opinions and views concerning the concepts around black wealth, black empowerment in the context of South Africa, and particularly our perceptions of the concept of black excellence as it pertains to African American entertainers and athletes. And whenever we see this hashtag black excellence, it's usually when a black athlete or entertainer gets the bag or gets financially advanced, and we throw out the black excellence hashtag. And it's just like yesterday, Tiffany and Co launched a new ad campaign around Jay-Z and Beyonce, and in that ad they had a very expensive painting from a late great artist by the name of Jean-Michel Basquiat, and he holds the record for the most expensive painting ever sold, an African American man, $120 million. And on this advert, Beyonce was wearing a 128 carat diamond necklace, which is worth over $30 million. It has only been worn by by four women. The previous three were all white, and Beyonce was celebrated as the first African American to ever wear that necklace. And this ad was put together by Alexandra Arnault, who is the 29-year-old son of the LVMH tycoon Bernard Arnault. LVMH, LV is from Louis Vuitton. So this tycoon, his son, has now taken over as vice president of product communications for one of their brands, and under those brands is Tiffany and Co. So a lot of black excellence tweets began to come out celebrating Jay-Z and Beyonce, who we always celebrate whenever they succeed for landing this advertising campaign. So the reason why Ntsiki and Bonang were trending around the same time is because in her blog, she was pushing against the idea of what we think black wealth looks like and what black excellence looks like. And she used Bonang as a case study for her critical view, and she used it in a very critical way, which rubbed Bonang's fan base the wrong way. So on Twitter, there was now Twitter beef between supporters of Ntsiki and her ideas and those who are the fans of Bonang. And one of the major skills I want us to develop as Engage Culture, as the Engage Culture community, I need to find a name for us, as the Engage Culture community, I need to find a name for us, is I want us to develop the ability to look at disagreements and ideas objectively and be able to see both sides of an argument, whether the argument is involving someone we like or someone we don't like, and learn. And also, I also want us to be the kind of people who can learn from people we don't always agree with and not rush to cape up and defend the people we like. We must be able to break down arguments, events, and hear both sides and both views and see what truths we can glean and what we can learn from what's going on in culture. And personally, I am a huge fan of Bonang. I respect all her tremendous achievements, all that she has done. So when I was looking at Ntsiki's blog, initially I was like, oh man, here goes Ntsiki again. She's attacking Bonang for nothing. But I was like, you know what? Let me separate what is ad hominem attacks, and let me start to question the ideas that she is putting forward and not rush to the defense of Bonang. Let me hear what she has to say pertaining to Black Wealth and see if there's any truths that I can take from here, or if it's just attacks, I can just push it all aside, because there are some of her ideas, and I think some of the things she's got some great ideas. She's got some good ideas and some bad ideas, and sometimes I think what limits her ideas is they come across as attacks, as personal attacks against people. But I believe that her voice is valid. We don't need culture will be a disaster if everyone is a yes man, and if all we're doing is worshiping celebrities, and if all we're doing is worshiping our favorite celebrities, and we don't have any voices which say let's cross-examine this situation, because we must be able to look and see, and sometimes we must still also be able to disagree with our favorite celebrities and not just worship them and turn them into personality cults, right? So she opens a blog in a very interesting concept, with a very interesting concept. She says, and I quote, I have been watching the black economy debate with dismay and disappointment as I realize that black people don't actually have a lived experience of ownership outside of the gaze, outside of the white gaze and white control. So she opens her blog with a very tough charge that she raises against us and the concept of black wealth in South Africa, and also by extension United States. And her argument in this opening statement is that black wealth is not generated, it's not a fubu, it's not for us by us, it's not generated from blacks. Many times what we see as black wealth and black excellence, argument is it's not really for us by us. There's always an element that is dependent on white wealth, and even when we see black excellence, it's always for the benefit of white wealth. And then she throws another charge against us as black folk, and she says that all our lives, she says, and I quote, all our lives we are raised and taught to look for jobs and not make them. We're taught to look for jobs and not make them, unquote. So on this point, she has a point. And we as the black community, as Africans, we need to shift. We need to shift our thinking from just being a job-seeking paradigm to a job-creating paradigm. But at the same time, I need to push back a little bit, because building businesses is not just as easy as waking up. There's a lot of things involved, so we need to encourage it. At the same time, we mustn't slam the 9-to-5ers, because sometimes we've got this culture where we attack the 9-to-5ers in the name of entrepreneurship. I think in our journey, there has to be a journey of a generation which goes through the 9-to-5 project, just to create a foundation and a net of safety. But then there's also a generation which also needs to pick up the mantle of entrepreneurship and building and creating jobs. So then she goes on to throw another jab, and she said this, and I quote, she says, I watched with amusement as my people protected our malls in the townships during the unrest. They don't even own 1% of the mall, but yay, it is our malls, unquote. On this point, in her blog, she was attacking us as the black community during the protest in South Africa 3 weeks ago. A lot of us, a lot of our people started to go and congregate around malls and protect them from the rioting and the looting. And she says she attacks us for protecting malls we don't own. And she's talking about how as blacks We keep blowing our money in malls that we don't own. And then when they were about to be destroyed, we were the first ones to protect malls we don't own and malls we don't even operate in. And to an extent, she has a point here because at some point, we can't just be blowing our money in malls we don't own, on brands we don't own. At the same time, I have to push back a little bit on a point in that it is a reality that we don't own the malls. But until we do, we can't stand for them being destroyed. We don't own them right now. And in a perfect world, we would own all the malls in South Africa and own all the businesses. But at this moment in time, um, the individuals in those communities were in a lose-lose situation because they couldn't just stand by and let the malls be destroyed because they've got relatives and friends who actually work in those malls. So in one day you destroy those malls, you've lost jobs, you've also lost services, you've lost places to go buy food, you've lost places to go and entertain yourself as well. So though I hear her in terms of a criticism of the people that they were defending malls they don't own, but the foundation of building a mall is not in destroying what's already there. It's not now in destroying what's already there. So I accept a criticism that, you know what, as a people, it's sad that we're defending things we don't even own. But unfortunately, it is the reality right now. And we need to also start thinking. We need to start thinking and accepting her criticism that, you know what, as black folks, when are we going to own our malls? When are we going to own those stores in those malls? You walk into any mall in South Africa, we've got malls here in Rosebank, Melrose, Sandton. You walk in, how many stores in there are black owned? How many stores in there are black owned? Just walk through. I want to give you homework. The next time you go to a mall, you got Mall of Africa. How many stores in there is the mall itself owned by Africans? And in terms of the stores in there, how many stores in there are African owned businesses? Very interesting. So then she proceeded to say something which hit me very hard. Now, there's something in a blog post, which just totally hit me very hard. She said, and I quote, "The only people who own the economy in South Africa are the ones getting dividends and market share." Here she hit. As blacks, and here she hit us hard, guys. She hit us right in the chest. She says, as blacks, we are just market share. We are not owners. We are just the market share, unquote. Whew. No, here she hit me. This point, unfortunately, there's no defense. There's no pushback. She nailed it here. She nailed South Africa here. She nailed black South Africa. She nailed African Americans as well. In the economy of SA and the United States, blacks feature in two roles. We are not owners. We either feature in labor or consumer. We do not feature as owners and producers. And this is where I believe this is where the cultural debate needs to go now. That there has to be a shift in our minds beyond the personalities of Ntsiki and Bonang. Let's look at the ideas. You might like Bonang, you might like Ntsiki, you might hate Bonang, you might hate Ntsiki, but beyond, let's remove those personalities and question this idea here. And this is the idea we as engaged culture need to think about, need to pray about, need to look at. We need to shift from just being laborers to owners in our economies. And we need to shift from just being consumers to producers. That's the core idea of this thing. And then from here now is where she now began to criticize educated black middle class in South Africa. She begins to, from this point in her blog, she began to throw some attacks. She criticizes the so-called woolies, educated black middle class. And she closes, after attacking them, she starts to look at the difference between black excellence and white excellence. And this is what she says, and I quote, "The difference between our excellence, black excellence, and white excellence is that white excellence When it comes to white excellence, we hear or read of the business when it was still in the garage or a small shop. Our black excellence is comprised of people who are handed their wealth through BEE deals. These are political government deals in South Africa. Their power was created. Yeah, hey, she dropped a bar here. Their power was created by position, not by skill and talent. Aish. Oh yeah, no. On that point, no, there, she nailed it there. Their power was created by white people, not themselves. Now, unquote. So let's look at this statement. Now, this statement is a powerful assessment and rebuke of the black political elite. There's a wealth class in South Africa and in many African countries, which is the black political elite. People who become wealthy because of their positions in government. You know, we used to celebrate the richest woman in Africa, Miss Ramos from Angola. She was a billionaire, but when you looked closer, she was the son of the president and she was in charge of the oil resources in the country. So even though we're celebrating, wow, the richest woman in Africa, it was somehow connected to political elite. And in Africa, when we look at the Forbes Africa lists of Africans, many times the wealthy, it's always connected to government or son of a minister, son of a governor or cousin. It's always, there's this black political wealth elite that is strong in every African country. But what I will slightly push back on this idea, just also bring balance. Political wealth is huge all over the world, not just in South Africa, not just in Africa. There are people who get wealthy through politics, politicians. I'll even use America as an example. I mean, the Afghan war, 20 years of war, but military contractors like Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics made billions of dollars through the Afghan war, through supplying weapons, through supplying material, through these military contractors made a lot of money from this 20-year war. They made billions for themselves. And their companies are also listed on Wall Street. So they made money for the S&P 500. So Wall Street also made money from this war. So political corruption and wealth from politics, it's not just a South African thing. It's a global thing. Governments, there's a lot of corruption in all these governments, even the countries we think are better than South Africa. There's also an element of political wealth that is made in those countries. But the point I will take from here and from this statement which she just threw out, she says that white excellence is rooted in building companies. In other words, becoming owners and producers. Then from there, she turns her guns on the concept of black excellence. And now is when she begins to take some shots at Bonang, because she uses Bonang as a case study. And this is what she said. She says, a few years ago, we were told Bonang had a champagne range. We as black people swallowed this up quickly, despite us knowing black people don't really have vineyards. I don't know about you. I don't know how many black people you know in the wine business in the Cape right here. She says, we didn't ask any questions. We had a new winemaker to celebrate. Yeah, she was taking shots, yo. And here she alleges, on researching the wine, I found that it was a Woolworths wine by some white dude. It had always been on the shelves and it wasn't selling. So basically, they put brand Bonang on it to sell it to a new market, blacks, unquote. So that is her allegation that she raised against Bonang pertaining to the House of Bonang champagne. And I conducted my own research, and it wasn't conclusive. I tried to find, okay, where's this vineyard where she's making this, and I couldn't. It wasn't conclusive, so I can't confirm or deny this allegation raised, leveled against her by Ntsiki. But what may be the case? There may be some truth in an allegation that it's just Bonang's brand being put on somebody else's product, because Bonang definitely owns her own brand. Her brand is huge. The Bonang brand is huge in this country, and her allegation might be true that it's just her brand being added to another person's. And I noticed also in 2018, Bonang put some posts online where she was at a vineyard in Stellenbosch, some Rust and Red vineyard who specialize in red wine, and so it was sort of insinuating like she was buying the vineyard, or you can't confirm or deny that. And when I look at her website and when I look at her social media, there's no particular sign of actually owning the production side of the brand. And one thing, before I can just some rabbit trail here. One thing about also social media influencers is they embellish, they exaggerate, they exaggerate the size of the scale of things they're doing, and in some cases, or in many cases, there are some who actually lie. And my research is not conclusive, but what I think may be true is the theory is that on the production side, I don't think she has ownership. Another company may, and I stand to be corrected here, may be the one that owns the vineyard and is actually producing the wine, but where she probably has ownership is on the branding side, where she put her brand and was able to elevate. And there's a business model like that. It's like drop shipping. It's like some people. It's like you look at this young man who started this kettle company, Zulu-ish. He just got some Chinese company in China to send kettles and put his logo on it, and is selling it. So he's using that Zulu-ish brand, and it's resonating with some people. Some people want to buy it. I think the kettles are going for 350 rand, and yes, adding your name, and your brand is a product. Your brand is a product. If you own your brand, because it's like a t-shirt, it's like a white t-shirt. If once you get a t-shirt, a plain white t-shirt in South Africa, 100 rand. You put a tick on it, it's 1,000 rand. You put the Nike tick on it, same t-shirt. It's the brand value. So you can't falter for using her brand value to promote a product which she hasn't created. But again, if we're just going to look at this critically and honestly, it's a major problem we have as blacks, especially as we celebrate black excellence in our favorite local and African American celebrities. Because many times we are viewed just as labor and consumers, and our celebs get used by companies which they didn't build and don't own to sell their products to us. And many times we rush to say black excellence and celebrate this celeb. Wow, this celeb is now worth, they're now worth 100 million. Wow, this celeb is now worth this. And many times there are companies, white-owned companies, using black entertainers and athletes as faces to draw us in as laborers or customers. And they will pay the entertainer, but they will make much more than the entertainer from us. Oof. They'll pay the entertainer some money, and then we come in and are drawn to our hero, our celebrity, our hero. And we think we're supporting our hero, but in actuality, there are companies behind them. Are you seeing this game? Are you seeing how this game is being played? Are you seeing how we're being played, my people? And, my question always is, what if the athlete or the entertainer actually owned the company, owned the value chain, and they came and were selling us the product? I'll use a simple example here. Phil Knight is the founder of Nike. He is worth $60 billion. The number one selling product that he has is the Jordan. Jordans have made it. That Nike has been built by Jordan. But Jordan is worth 1.6 billion. 60 billion Phil Knight, 1 billion Jordan. Something is wrong here. And we're always on the black excellence. Jordan is the GOAT. The GOAT is Phil Knight. 60 billion, and you don't even know what he looks like today. Some of you, it's your first time even hearing the name Phil Knight. Some of you, it's your first time. But he is the real GOAT. And many times, athletes and black athletes and entertainers are just used by these companies to attract us in as customers and as laborers. And the celeb didn't build the company, doesn't own the company, and even if they have some type of equity, they don't even get the highest reward from the company. And as long as we see black excellence and black wealth and black success through this narrow lens of black celebrities being used to endorse products for companies they don't own and haven't built, when they're there on Instagram taking their fancy pictures with designer brands which are not even African, these Gucci's, Louis V and all this stuff, sports cars which are not African again, and many times these black celebrities and black entertainers are being used by these companies to increase their market share with us. As long as we don't begin to see this for what it is, we shall continue being used as laborers and as customers. And if we don't start to see this game differently, we're going to remain in this place where we're being dominated. Let me just close by using hip-hop as an example. Hip-hop generates $15.7 billion a year. How much of that money actually goes to these rappers? In fact, how many billionaires has hip-hop produced? Right now, it's only produced two, Kanye West and Jay-Z. And when you study most of them, if you study their wealth, majority of the wealth doesn't directly come from hip-hop money. It goes to the companies, the record labels. A lot of their money was made from other things that they bought into or began to own. For example, in the life of Jay-Z, a lot of his wealth comes from Tidal. It comes from his champagne brand, the Ace of Spades. But again, if you look at that Ace of Spades, it's not... Jay-Z doesn't have like a vineyard. It's a French company from a French family, which he bought. He bought the brand. But again, he doesn't own the means of production there. And he just added his brand there and it went to another level. Even with Kanye, with Yeezy, he's the richest rapper right now. And it's through Yeezy brand. What is Yeezy? Yeezy is under Adidas. Adidas is a German company. So even though Kanye is making money, that money is still going to Adidas. Adidas are the real GOAT. So it validates to a certain extent Nicki's charge against us as blacks and black excellence pushers, in that black excellence is usually not founded and created by blacks. It's usually founded and created by white wealth. And still at the end of the day, this black excellence grows white wealth and increases white wealth. So even when we see the Tiffany ad we spoke about with Jay-Z and Beyonce, we must celebrate them getting the bag, but we must understand that it's at the end of the day, it's for the benefit of LVMH. And we now need to change how we view ourselves and begin to see ourselves not just as consumers, but as producers. Genesis 27:40 says, "And by the sword you shall live, and you shall serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when you shall have dominion, you shall break the yoke from the neck." As Africans, we're going to keep having the yoke of these global brands on our necks. If we don't change our mindset and start saying, wait a minute, we're just market share. Wait a minute, they just see us as laborers and consumers. We need to become owners. We need to become producers. In this season, I break the spirit of a consumer and I release the spirit of a producer. I break the spirit of a laborer and I release the spirit of an owner in your life. In the name of Jesus, we shall break this yoke. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you.